Insert intro music here. Hi everyone, how are you? Welcome to episode 11 of Love is a Battlefield, the podcast. My name is Tilly Moore and this episode is called Cycle of Abuse. Now, if you're wondering where that really bad intro music has gone, I have just switched from Windows to my first ever Apple Mac. And I am struggling. So apologies ahead of time if this episode has long gaps or has lots of bad sounds or me breathing or anything like annoying. I'm learning. I've had to swap to a different way of doing things and I'm running late. I'm way behind time. So let's just do this. Dun ching 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 interlude, little sweeper music. So how have you been, legends? Tell me, I want to know. I want to hear, there are some poll things on Spotify somewhere, but I want you to email me, you right there listening. No, not the other people, you. I really want to hear from you. I want to hear any story, any relationship story, any Tinder nightmares, any first date nightmares, anything, any DV you share with me. I want to know something. No names will be used. Email me. I mean it. loveisabattlefield@gmail.com. You don't have to tell me anything fancy. Just share a little story. Share about your life. So do it. Anyway, what's new in your world? You keeping safe? I hope so. Who's listening? Who is listening? Who's listening to this? I just made that up on the spot. Welcome to Who is Listening. It's a segment that I just thought of on the spot that I randomly made up after learning some Latvian and Greek in previous episodes because my analytics are showing where you lovely people are listening from. So now and then I'm just going to talk about listeners and where you're from and have a shout out. But just a spot of fun before we dive into all the traumatic stuff. So today's listener shout out is to our UK listeners. There's lots of UK listeners. Hello, want a cup of tea? Oh yeah, I like a cup of tea. Oh, I love the UK. I have never been there though, so that seems a bit weird to say I love something when I've never been there. If the flights weren't like 67,000 hours and $67,000, slight exaggeration, I would have definitely been there. I really do need to get there. I don't like the cold, but I need to get over that because it just seems like such an amazing place. If I know it would feel like home because my family's from there. In an ancestry book, there was a town written and I went back to look through it for today to tell you, and I can't find the name of the town. I can't find it in the book. I don't know where it's gone. It was something Shire, not Devonshire, not Worcestershire. Love that sauce. It was something Shire. I'm assuming there's a lot of Shires, but that's where my family comes from. And the other side is like Irish. Oh, so many good things come out of the UK. I mean, the Beatles, Harry Styles, so many good TV shows and movies. And I could go on, and I'm not, because that's not what today is about. Today is about the cycle of abuse. Back to the trauma, back to the negative. We almost got to chatting about good things and fun things there, but we've got to get back to it, the subject at hand. Now, after last week's intense share, we get back to more education with the cycle of abuse. So here we go. Now, according to psychcentral.com, the cycle of abuse or cycle of violence is a concept that was first documented in the 70s by a psychologist called Lenore E. Walker. Now, I don't know if you've seen the cycle of abuse. It's a very common little picture they'll give you on a piece of paper from a DV service. Usually DV services are educating people and they hand you the cycle of abuse on a piece of paper. And this power and control wheel, these two sort of diagrams that are like circles. And basically in the cycle of abuse, it has 4 stages. The first stage is tension building. The second stage is the incident of violence. The third stage is reconciliation, i.e. the honeymoon phase, i.e. grooming, love bombing, i.e. you know what I mean. i.e. E-I-E-I-O. And stage 4 is calm. that calm, everything's good after the honeymoon phase. Everything's just going well. Like life is back to normal. It's all good. It's never going to happen again. Honestly, I get that from Austin Powers. Honestly, it's not mine. Anyone who hasn't seen Austin Powers, I apologize. That will make absolutely zero sense to you. Now, they are the 4 stages. And when you go into it, tension building, it's, tension, when you're walking on eggshells. Ugh. Or sometimes you might not feel it. They might just be building up and you might be completely oblivious. But usually the tension phase, it's increasing over time. They might have little emotional outbursts, irritability, be a bit impatient and short with you. And that just slowly sort of starts to build, apparently, according to the cycle of abuse. The second stage is the incident. Well, we know what that is. It's physical or emotional or some kind of violence, domestic violence, an incident. Threats of violence, breaking things, punching holes in the walls, classic. Intimidation, insults, name-calling, verbal violence, physical violence, sexual violence, shaming and blaming, humiliation, social isolation, financial abuse, emotional abandonment. They might just go, well, I'm leaving you. And abandonment, someone who hasn't been through DV will think, well, that's good, isn't it? They're going and they're bad. It's an emotional abuse tactic in order to gain control of you. They're not actually letting you go and leaving you. They're just using abandonment, knowing that will trigger certain people to go, oh, no, I'll do it. You know. Why do I say when I'm telling you things? Reconciliation. The honeymoon phase, the grooming, the love bombing, as I said before. So after the incident of abuse, it says here on Psych Central, the abusive partner may feel like the tension starts to dissipate. This can be quite the opposite experience for the person who's on the receiving end of that abuse. Once the tension is gone, they may feel inclined to make amends for their behaviour. They may apologise, shower you with affection, gifts. I've added that one in myself. Promise they'll never do it again. They even might, someone I knew, take full responsibility at certain times. Like if you're seeming like you're resistant to continuing the relationship, they bring in new tactics, new manipulation. So they'll just try going, oh, well, that happened, get over it. Oh, she's saying she doesn't like that and she wants to leave the relationship. Okay, I'll try something else. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, that's not working. She's saying, no, I don't want to be in an abusive relationship. I'm going to leave. Okay. And then I've actually had an experience of them going, it's all my fault. I have a problem. There's something not right with me. I did it. I hit you. Mind you, this person makes sure there are no phones in the room. No evidence they ever said this. Very cluey. And appears to take full responsibility. So you think, oh, and then that gets you. They will increase all the manipulative behaviours to suck you back in until one gets you on the hook. Like they put out all these different baits. They're taking out worms, prawns, using like cast nets. I don't know if you know fishing. I like fishing. They're using mud crab pots. And then it's not working. So they're like, let's get the trawler. They increase and increase until you're like submitting in a way to stay in the relationship and, oh, let's try and make things go back to how they were. So it's the grooming. It's such a good phase too. And it's a phase that you look forward to. Okay, this sounds really bad. It's not that you are consciously aware this is going on, but when they're so nice after it, after all that horrible stuff, blaming you and accusing you of everything and physically beating you, and then for them to say, oh, I'm so sorry, it's me, things are going to be better, and being so nice to you, showering you with gifts, and not always gifts, as a lot of you will know, that's not always the case. But to then be sorry and come around, it feels so good and it's such a relief. And you've got all this tension in your body because you're fight or flight. All this bad stuff has happened and you're terrified. And then for someone to console you and tell you what you need to hear just to calm you and make you feel safe, it really works. Gosh, they're cunning little things. And then we come to calm, that part after that where things are just good. You might live together, go to work, everything's fine, everyone's happy. And that's where we convince ourselves this is how it's meant to be, everything's okay now. And that period of time, I've seen with myself and other people, can be a week, 2 weeks. I had a friend who was conscious of the cycle of abuse and they were going through it and theirs had a massive abusive episode and they thought, okay, it'll be like another couple of weeks before the next one. And they were reporting back to me at the time saying, I can't believe it. They're still good. They're still good. And this went on for months. And they were saying, I can't believe it. Like, because their perpetrator's friend had been arrested for domestic violence or someone they knew. So I think that sort of made them think, oh, I'm going to be on my best behaviour for a while. But they went for months. And this person said they had never gone for months before. And they were like, oh. And it tricked them. Tricked. Is that the word? She actually started thinking, oh, I think he's good now. Like, I don't think he's going to abuse me anymore. But her and I both knew, like deep down, it's a ticking time bomb. It's a matter of time because the cycle of abuse is a circle and it goes round and round and keeps going around. Oh, this is sad. It goes on to say how to end the cycle of abuse and it kind of contradicts itself. It's like stopping isn't as easy as just leaving. But then it sort of goes on to say, but it is possible to leave. Yet it doesn't actually give a clear answer, like how do you stop it? Because it's like, well, you can't always leave and you might not be safe if you try and leave, and yet maybe you should give it a go. So all that's saying to me is it's not your fault. You're not the one in charge of starting or ending this. This person is doing this to you. But it does go on to say you can get outside intervention, outside help, confide in someone, and all the ways that you can try and get out of a domestic violence or domestic abusive situation. Now, there have been some criticisms of the cycle of abuse, and I don't know about you, but the first time I saw it, I thought, really? You're telling us it happens like this for everyone every single time? And according to healthline.com, they've said why it may not be very helpful. Although abuse often does happen in a cycle or within a larger pattern, it doesn't happen in the same way all the time, even in the same relationship. Narratives that suggest otherwise can overlook important signs of abuse and deny the experiences of survivors. And they have also said it can lead to victim blaming. If you sit down with a victim of DV and say, here's the cycle of abuse, so this is what your partner is doing to you, it makes you feel so stupid and like, here, we've got it on paper. This is what's happening. Well, why are you still in it? Look at it. Like, what's your problem? So what they've said about victim blaming is the idea that abuse always happens in the same cycle can make it easier for outsiders, abusers, and even survivors themselves to put blame for the abuse where it doesn't belong. Like they say, you had to have known it would happen again. And you should have left as soon as they calmed down. Like telling you, look, there's the honeymoon phase, there's the calm phase. That's when you leave. Why don't you do that? Yeah, tried that. Nearly died, thanks. Just FYI. So I like that they've highlighted this. They're saying it's kind of out of date. It's not really reflecting, financial control, threats, humiliation. It's not showing the whole sign. It also says it suggests abuse can be predicted. I don't like that. For me, in my worst domestic violence relationship experience, the whole idea of them, boiling? Not boiling. What is it saying? When they're building up the tension phase before the outburst. And I remember sitting with domestic violence service years, like a long time ago, and being told that. And I was like, well, no, he doesn't do that. Like, I've seen that in other experiences in my life. But in this situation, that's not it. They're not a person with anger issues who's boiling up and then explodes like the wheel suggests. The cycle suggests. The wheel is the other one we're about to get to. They don't do that. They would just go Jekyll Hyde. And the reason was because this person was more psychopathic. They were more planned and calculated. There was a reason they were doing what they were doing, and it was very well thought out. It wasn't just someone who has this anger inside them that naturally kind of bubbles over and they take it out on you. So to sort of imply, oh, look, they're tension building phase. Can't you see that? Hey, you should know he's about to abuse you. No, it wasn't like that at all. And abuse was so often that when is there time for that? But there were gaps, and I do see that kind of cycle there. Definitely the grooming and then the calm and everything like that. But the tension building, I would have just said, was the calm bit. It was, well, it's not going to happen again. And then Jekyll Hyde, click, boom, there he is. Because he's got some plan to do something in his very unwell mind, in his little game in his head. So it doesn't always reflect everyone's relationship. And as it said, even in a relationship, sometimes it can be like the cycle. You can see that and other times not. So I like that this calls it out. And so that's what led them to coming up with the Wheel of Power and Control. According to powerandcontrolfilm.com, the Wheel of Power and Control was developed in the 80s by 3 people in response to the issues with it. The first one, the cycle of abuse, was from the 70s, and this one was from the 80s. Now on healthline.com, they say, moreover, the wheel diagram serves as tactics abusive partners use to keep survivors in a relationship. The inside of the wheel makes up subtle, continual behaviours over time, while the outer ring represents physical and sexual violence. Thus, abusive actions like those depicted in the outer ring reinforce the regular use of other more subtle methods found in the inner ring. Yes, I love that it reflects all those snide, sneaky little things they do over time that on the surface, if you reported to someone, hey, this person did this, they're going to go, yeah, and? But it's the use of it over time, like intimidation and other things. If you can, Google the Wheel of Power and Control and you'll see it because it is an image. Now, they've said they use he, she in it, but they have acknowledged any gender orientation and sexuality is a reference to the different roles in it. But they have said the he and she because of this traditional statistics of men being the majority of abusers. But I've got upcoming episodes about that anyway. So what I'm seeing when I look at the Wheel of Power and Control is on the outside, it says the violence. Like it's got this massive black ring. In the middle, in the center, the core of this circle, like the seed of the avocado, if you call them avocados everywhere? I think so. Anyway, the seed is power and control because that is the goal of the abuser. And then in between that, there's like little slices, like I guess an orange would have little slices in between the outside and the seed. So I've gone from avocado to orange, excuse me for that. So what it has in there is things like using coercion and threats, making and or carrying out threats to do something to hurt her. So that's one of the, how they said her and he and that. Threatening to leave, to commit suicide, to report to welfare, making her drop charges, making her do illegal things. Using intimidation, making her afraid by using looks, actions, gestures, smashing things, destroying her property, abusing pets, displaying weapons. Exactly, displaying a weapon. That's not a massive thing on its own. It's all part of intimidation. And the looks they give you when they know what they're doing. We've got using emotional abuse, putting her down, making her feel bad about herself, calling her names, making her think she's crazy, playing mind games, humiliating her, making her feel guilty. Using isolation, controlling what she does, who she sees and talks to, what she reads, where she goes, limiting her outside involvement, using jealousy to justify actions. Now, initially when you're in a DV relationship, you know how they say they isolate you from people and you think, that's not happening. It's more in hindsight, you're like, oh, that happened. They don't say outright. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they're very quite cocky and bold, but they don't outright say, you can't go see that person. I'm isolating you from that person. No, it's subtle. It's subtle. They encourage you in various ways to withdraw from your life outside of them, outside of the building you're in, the house of horrors. I got to go on. Minimizing, denying, and blaming. And under that, they've said making light of the abuse and not taking the victim/survivor's concerns about it seriously. Saying the abuse didn't happen. Shifting responsibility for abusive behavior. Yeah, when they victim blame you. Saying you caused it. Yeah, victim blaming. So minimizing, denying, and blaming. That's the whole deflection. Next one. Oh, using children. Making her feel guilty about the children. Using the children to relay messages. Using visitation to harass her. Threatening to take the children away. And as you would know if you've listened to other episodes, a person I knew used a child as a literal tool in their little abuse toolkit. And I've seen other people do that in other scenarios, and it's disgusting. Next is using male privilege, and under that they've written treating her like a servant, making all the big decisions, acting like the master of the castle, being the one to define men's and women's roles. So a bit of classic misogyny. The next heading is using economic abuse, preventing her from getting or keeping a job, making her ask for money, giving her an allowance. That reminds me of Hugh Hefner. Have you seen those Playboy documentaries on some streaming services? Interesting. They'd get an allowance every week. Anyway, sorry, just on a tangent. The tangent train, choo-choo. Okay, giving her an allowance, taking her money. Yes, that's happened to me. Not letting her know about or have access to family income. Yes, keeping things hidden. Yep, stuff like that. Oh, the amount of people I've met and dated over my life who imply they're men with these massive incomes because they get paid more for much less qualifications, and I have a degree and was always getting paid less. And they may have gone and done a tiny little course at a training organisation, very cheap, nothing like going to university and that, and they're getting paid 3 to 4 times more than me or something like that. And they would always sell this, I've got all this money, I hate women who are gold diggers. I've met so many men who are like that in personally and in society. So that was the last one there. So I'll just go over those headings again. So inside the wheel, right in the middle, we've got power and control. That's what they want. And then outside of that, we've got all these titles that I've just listed off with all the notes underneath for examples. So all those titles were using coercion threats, using intimidation, using emotional abuse, using economic abuse, using isolation, minimizing, denying and blaming, using children, using male privilege. And the ring on the outside says violence, physical, sexual. So I like that it says these are all the behaviours in DV. It's not just getting slapped or punched in the face. It's not just a black eye. It's so much more that enables them to get the power and control. And then the outside of the wheel is that violence. It's that physical and sexual, like being raped or being physically abused. That's what it is. So I like how it displays all that rather than they build up, punch you in the face. Oh, it's honeymoon. Oh, it's good. It does make sense, the first one. So have a Google, cycle of abuse, wheel of power and control. Cast your eyes over it. But when you're in it, when you're right in it, it is hard to sort of look at that stuff because when it's on paper in black and white, it still makes us, because we always feel guilty, we always feel it's our fault, and it kind of makes us think, right, they've documented this, so I feel bad that I'm still in this now. Don't feel bad. As it says in this Wheel of Power and Control, there are so many examples of so many behaviors as to why you're still there, why it might not be safe to leave yet, and you're going to get there. You're going to get there. Naturally, I want to say a disclaimer that we do lose so many women to domestic violence, and I was nearly one of those statistics. So by saying, it's okay, don't stress about leaving, I'm not saying stay, because the longer you're there, the more power and control they're feeding off you, like a demon feeding off some evil kind of pot of evil soup. Okay, that was a really bad analogy. If it was an analogy, I don't know big words. But anyway, but what I'm trying to say is, I don't want you to hate yourself for still being there. So when you see these things, educate yourself. And that's the thing. The more you know, knowledge is power, and that is going to help you get out. And it's going to help you get out safely and smart enough to outsmart these vile creatures. So I do want you out. I want you out yesterday. But the guilt of telling you it's your fault and why aren't you out yet, that is not helpful. None of this is your fault. You are literally doing what you can to survive. You are literally doing all the things that enable you to make the smartest decisions. You are constantly risk assessing. Now, for anyone who is listening to this who has previously been through DV and you're out now, don't look back and think, oh, I should have left. You got out when you could. And you're now starting healing. And healing is a time thing. And we're all going to get there. Now, I'm just wondering if I should shake things up. I've noticed my episodes are getting like 40 minutes plus, and honestly, when I'm listening to a podcast, I'm good for 20. Like anything more, I'm like, bye, goodbye. And I have to go and do something, like you're walking the dog and then it ends, or you're driving home from work and it ends, like right now, you're all gone. Like I'm talking to one person. Hi. Hi, it's just you and me here. How you going? Literally. So, hi, one person. I just wonder if I should have 2 episodes a week, one with like the topic, like cycle of abuse, and then the second one with the story time separate. That way, punchy, there it is. You can listen to it, you can not listen to it. I didn't initially want to separate the story times because I didn't want just like nosy bitches being like, I'm just going to listen to your story times. Like, like people who have never gone through things in their life, they've never gone through DV, they're just like judgy and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're saying that. Like, you're totally making it up. Like, oh my gosh, like maybe if you just don't pick these guys, like, oh my gosh, you should listen to this girl on this podcast. Like, she just has no idea. And she's been in so many abuse. Like, it's her. Cannot she not see it's her? Like, I'll keep listening. It's such a laugh. Okay, it's like slightly dramatic reenactment of a basic bitch. But I thought, not just put it in one. But now I'm like, who wants to listen to that many minutes? I'm telling you, I hear you, I feel you. Not that you're like telling me, but I can't handle long podcasts. This episode's going to be the last long one. Maybe not. Maybe it won't. Actually, no. So what are you doing, Tilly? What are you doing? Like, get it together. Make decisions. Well, I'm going to make a decision right now while recording. You know how all those professional podcasts are so planned. They have like teams writing things. They have like the ex-reality star that comes in and just sits there and like they have a little brief before they start. Yet all this team has been writing, researching and doing everything. And here I am, literally recording, literally on air. And I'm just going to make a decision on the spot. You can be here with me. Let's embrace this moment. It's beautiful. So I think I might do that. Just do it for a while, see how it feels. Split it into 2. Say it's the same content per week, just 2 separate episodes. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it'll be worse. I don't know. But then you can choose. Do you want to know about that topic? Probably not. Do you want to hear the story time? Probably. And I'm really embarrassed about that. I think the thing was I was really embarrassed about people listening to my personal life who weren't seeking to learn about the education. Like, I wanted this podcast to help people who were in my position that I was in when I came out. And I thought if it's just a topic about DV, they're going to be drawn to that topic and learn about it, and then I'll share something. Whereas I think my paranoia in splitting it is that it's just becoming juicy storytime tea episode that people will listen to, and then the other episode they'll be like, oh, well, we don't even know about DV. We're just here to like listen to the gossip. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like, just put it out there. If it helps someone, that's the whole point. That's why I'm doing that. This, not that. Wrong word. Think better on your feet. So I think we're going to do that. I just made a decision on air. I don't know. Should I edit this out? No, let's just keep rolling with it. Let's just talk and think at the same time, which is something I've never, ever done. So basically today, there's no email. There's no email to talk about. Email me. loveisabadofieldpodcast@gmail. Yes, a lot of letters to write. Apologies for that. Email me with anything, a story time, any tea, any dilemma. Tinder nightmares. When you're swiping. Is anyone on a Hinge? The app Hinge? Is that like a worldwide thing? And I hear that the men like leave voice clips on their profile, or I don't know if they're sending them to girls or they're just on their profile, and it's like, hey, so yeah, my name is Jeff and I really love like cars, and I like, going to the beach, and I love working out in the gym, and anyone who doesn't like the gym, just don't even bother messaging me. Like I've heard about that on Hinge. So anything, like share any relationship stuff. I want to hear it. I really, 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 really do. So my story time. Actually, yeah. Let's just leave the story time for today because I have talked and we're already nearly going to hit 40 minutes of me rambling on here at the end. Look, I know it's just you and me though. I know that there's only one other person and me in the room right now. Everyone else has dropped off. So look at you. Thank you. Little clap, like if I could send you a little gift, I would, but I'm poor. And like if you only knew. But honestly, no, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. So this feels weird to split it. It feels really weird because now I'm going to, instead of just starting to talk about story time, I'm going to say next episode. And I don't even know when that's coming out. Oh my gosh, this is freaky. Story time, next episode. As promised, the story about how I was in contact with this loser after moving out, because I've referred to this in previous episodes where I had left and then I was like, oh, and I was talking about the side of the road where I called 000. And so you're probably like, but you'd moved out, you'd left. How's that happen? I can't even imagine where I'm going to start when I share that one, because it's just like, why are you there? But if it helps someone not feel as stupid themselves, hopefully it does the trick. So that's it for today. The topic of the next episode with a topic that's not a story time will be the smear campaign. Yuck. Been dreading that episode because I know how passionately people defend and support a very famous abuser who used a huge smear campaign against their victim. But so I feel quite anxious about talking about that because I feel like everyone's going to be like, how could you? Why don't you know? But I literally see it clear as freaking crystal because I know what the smear campaign is. So I'm hoping that will help people who are in something to prepare that this is something they do. And I'm telling you, this smear campaign is when you attempt or do leave. It's one of the strategies they use to make you pay for escaping, getting away, for them losing the power and control. If they lose the power and control, whose fault was it they lost that? Yours, because you took it from them. They did all these techniques to get all this power and control over you. You leave or attempt to leave, you're taking that away. So they see you as the bad guy who they have to attack because you took their power and control away. So they have a massive tanny where they do this thing called the smear campaign. So that is coming up next time. And no, I've got to go because honestly, no one's even listening to this bit at the end. If you are, email me. Tell me. You're that one person. Hi. Shout out. Love you. Thank you so much. Stay safe, legends. Love ya. Bye. Ching, ching, ching. Exit music. Ching, 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 ching. Exit music. Garage band. Someone send me a clip because I can't make my own because I'm really trash. Ching, ching. Bye.